In the vast emptiness of space, the Galactic Empire reigned with an iron fist, its sovereignty unquestioned across countless star systems. Within the glistening walls of the Imperial Citadel on planet Xirion, the Emperor's word was law, a decree that shaped the destiny of 1 trillion souls. Yet there was one species, one stubborn, resilient species that dared to defy this cosmic dictatorship: the humans. Humanity's home planet, Earth, was a blue jewel in the vast galaxy, teeming with life and rich with history. Once a proud member of the Galactic Council, Earth had been relegated to a mere vassal state following the disastrous War of Betrayal, where humans had shown a rare and dangerous trait: rebellion. Their punishment was severe, their status diminished, and their autonomy stripped. But the human spirit, as it turned out, was not so easily broken. Captain Elias Vaughn, a seasoned veteran of the Galactic Armada, stood overlooking the hangar bay of the Imperial flagship Sovereign. His eyes, one natural, the other a sophisticated cybernetic implant, scanned the bustling activity below. Engineers and robots flitted about, preparing the fleet for the upcoming quelling of a minor rebellion in the outer sectors. Elias's mind, however, was far from the preparations. He was thinking about the secret meeting he had attended the night before, a gathering of high-ranking human officers and influential civilians who shared a common goal: the liberation of Earth. It was treason, plain and simple, but to Elias and the others, it was a necessary risk to reclaim their home and their rights. "We need to be cautious, Elias," whispered General Mara Stone as she approached him. She was a fierce ally, her face etched with lines of determination and years of service. "The Emperor's spies are everywhere, and our plan is still vulnerable." Elias turned to face her, his expression stern yet resolute. "I know, Mara, but we can't delay any longer. The Empire is planning to deploy the Obliterator fleet to Earth. If we don't act now, there won't be an Earth to save." Mara nodded slowly, her gaze returning to the hangar below. "Have you spoken to the Cryptarchs?" "Yes," Elias replied. "They've managed to decrypt the Imperial codes. We now have access to their communications network. It's risky, but it will give us the edge we need." The plan was audacious. They would use the decrypted codes to sow confusion in the Imperial ranks at a crucial moment, allowing a small fleet of human ships to slip through the Empire's defenses and strike directly at the Imperial data centers on Xirion. The data contained there would help them expose the Empire's hidden atrocities to other member species, hopefully swaying them to the human cause. As Elias and Mara continued to discuss their strategies, a young lieutenant rushed towards them, his expression tense. "Captain General, you need to see this," he said, handing Elias a datapad. Elias's cybernetic eye quickly scanned the contents. A message from their spies within the Empire reporting that the Emperor had accelerated the deployment of the Obliterator fleet. Time was running out faster than they had anticipated. "We move tonight," Elias said decisively. "Inform all cells to be..." The dim corridors of the flagship Sovereign hummed with tension as Elias Vaughn made his way to the war room. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and anticipation. Each step Elias took was measured, his mind racing through the myriad of scenarios that could unfold in the hours to come. Beside him, Mara's presence was a silent reassurance, her resolve as palpable as the energy shields that protected the ship. Upon entering the war room, they were greeted by a holographic map of the sector, stars and planets displayed in intricate detail. Around it stood the core members of the rebellion, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the projection. "Time is not on our side," Elias began, his voice steady. "The Obliterator fleet will reach Earth within hours. Our objective is clear: disrupt their advance long enough for our strike teams to infiltrate the Imperial data centers." Mara stepped forward, activating a series of coordinates on the map. "We've placed sleeper agents on board 3 of the Imperial cruisers. Once we begin our assault, they will sabotage the ship's navigation systems. This will create a window for our forces to penetrate the defense perimeter." A young tactician, Lieutenant Kale, pointed at a blinking dot moving toward a remote cluster of asteroids. "We've arranged for a diversion here, at the Cygnus Pass. A fleet of unmanned drones will engage the Imperial sentries, drawing their attention away from our main force. As the plan unfolded, a sense of unity forged from shared danger and purpose filled the room. Everyone understood the stakes. Each decision could very well alter the future of their species. Meanwhile, far from the strategizing and plotting on Earth, the atmosphere was one of quiet defiance. In the sprawling megacities and forgotten rural outposts, humans prepared for what many felt was an inevitable confrontation. Underground networks transmitted encrypted messages, rallying the populace to be ready to rise up when the moment came. Back aboard the Sovereign, Elias concluded the briefing. Our path is set, and our roles are clear. Let's remind the Empire that humanity will not cower under tyranny. We fight for our freedom, for our right to exist as equals in this galaxy. The group dispersed, moving to their respective stations. Elias and Mara lingered for a moment, sharing a look of unspoken understanding. They both knew that this was a one-way mission for many who had just left the room. In the depths of space, the first phase of their plan began. The unmanned drones surged forward in a blaze of propulsion and blinding light, clashing with the Imperial sentries in a dazzling display of tactics and firepower. As predicted, the Imperial fleet scrambled, diverting their forces to quell what they perceived as a significant threat. On board the compromised Imperial cruisers, the sleeper agents enacted their part of the plan with surgical precision. Explosions tore through the hulls of the ships, sending them drifting helplessly into space. The chaos was palpable, a testament to the meticulous planning of the human rebels. With the Imperial forces in disarray, Elias gave the command to advance. Ships previously hidden in the shadow of moons and asteroids surged towards their target. The battle for Earth had begun in earnest, and the stars themselves seemed to watch in breathless anticipation. As laser fire and starlight intertwined, the course of history waited to be rewritten by those brave enough to challenge the stars. As the human fleet sliced through the cosmos, the distant glint of the Imperial citadel on Xirion loomed ahead, a fortress bristling with the might of 1,000 worlds. Captain Elias Vaughn stood at the helm of the Sovereign, his gaze fixed on their destination, a titan among stars, its shadows casting long across the galaxy. "Mara, status report," Elias commanded without turning, his voice echoing slightly in the command deck. "First wave of distraction fleets has engaged. Casualties are within expected parameters. The path to Xirion remains clear," Mara reported, her eyes scanning the data screens that flickered with updates of the ongoing engagements. Elias nodded slightly, his thoughts briefly on those they had already lost to this battle. "And the sleeper agents?" "Successful in their missions. The Empire's internal communications are in disarray, and their response times are lagging," Mara responded, a hint of satisfaction in her tone. On Earth, the rebellion's effect was electric. As news of the successful initial assaults reached the planet, hidden cells activated, emerging from the shadows to seize control of local communication hubs and armories. The streets, once filled with the oppressive silence of subjugation, now resonated with the sounds of resistance. People of all ages, driven by a renewed sense of hope, took up arms, their voices merging into a powerful chorus demanding freedom. In the vast vacuum between the battling fleets, space itself seemed to warp with the intensity of the conflict. Every burst of energy and each maneuver was a stroke painted on the dark canvas of the universe, a testament to human resilience and desperation. Elias's attention snapped back to the present as alerts blared, signaling proximity to Xirion. "Prepare all squads. We're going in," he ordered crisply. The crew's response was a symphony of clicks and beeps, each member proficient in their role, a machine of war driven by human heartbeats. The Imperial defenses, although formidable, were sluggish to coalesce due to the earlier sabotage. Capital ships and defense platforms, usually a synchronized ballet of deadly precision, now struggled to mount a coordinated defense. Elias exploited every second of their hesitation. The Sovereign and its companion vessels dove towards the planet, slipping through the disorganized flotilla of Imperial warships. On board one of the smaller human ships, a team of elite soldiers, the Spearheads, prepared for their critical mission. Their objective was the heart of the Imperial data centers. Dressed in stealth combat suits, They were a blur among the stars, moving towards their target with lethal intent. As their craft docked silently with the Imperial station, they breached the hull with precision charges, a silent explosion in the void of space. Inside the station, the spearheads encountered minimal resistance. The few dazed Imperial soldiers were quickly subdued, their surprise evident. The humans' reputation for tenacity and ingenuity in combat was well known, but the speed and audacity of this attack caught even the seasoned warriors off guard. Lieutenant Kyle, leading the spearheads, directed his team through the labyrinthine corridors of the data center. "Eyes sharp, people. We grab the data and get out before they know what hit them," he whispered into his comm, his voice a calm command amid the storm of battle. As they reached the main data vault, the team's tech specialist quickly interfaced with the Imperial network, bypassing security protocols with codes extracted from the earlier decrypted communications. Data streamed onto their portable drives. The Imperial forces converged on the escaping human ships, their lasers cutting swaths of destruction through the void. Elias watched the battle unfold on the display, calculating every maneuver with deadly precision. "Divert power to rear shields and prepare the jump drives," he ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos of the command deck. On Earth, the resistance movement seized the momentary advantage. Empowered by the news of the successful data heist, they pushed forward, capturing key strategic locations. Formerly silent cities were now ablaze with the fires of rebellion, and the Empire's local garrisons, isolated and confused without clear directives from their commanders, faltered under the coordinated assaults. In the darkness of space, the Sovereign and its escort weaved through a barrage of enemy fire, inching ever closer to the jump point that would take them out of the immediate reach of the Imperial fleet. Mara coordinated the retreat, her voice a steady beacon for all ships. "Maintain formation, we're almost through." The spearheads, now back aboard their craft, monitored the integrity of their stolen data. Lieutenant Kale, his eyes never leaving the data transfer progress, felt the weight of their mission. The information they carried could potentially dismantle decades of Imperial propaganda and expose vulnerabilities that were unthinkable before. Suddenly the ship jolted violently, a direct hit to their aft section. "Damage report!" Kale shouted, clinging to his console as the lights flickered. "We've got a breach in engineering, but it's contained. Propulsion is still functional," the pilot responded, his voice tense but controlled. Back on the Imperial station, the aftermath of the raid left the command center in disarray. High-ranking officers scrambled to regain control, their faces marked by a mix of anger and disbelief. Admiral Varric, the station's commander, surveyed the damage with a scowl. "Mobilize all available units. I want those rebels hunted down and eradicated," he commanded, his voice echoing with fury. As the human fleet reached the jump point, Elias gave the signal. In a flash of distorted light and bending reality, the ships disappeared from the Imperial sensors, slipping away to the relative safety of hyperspace. Breaths held in suspense were finally released. They had escaped, but the hardest part of their mission was just beginning. Meanwhile, the data extracted from the raid began to spread like wildfire across the human networks. Images, videos, and documents revealing the true extent of the Empire's exploitation and cruelty were broadcasted, igniting a galactic discourse that was previously unimaginable. Sympathies shifted subtly in the Galactic Council, as other species began to question their own allegiance to the Empire. The repercussions of the raid reached even the highest levels of the Imperial hierarchy. Emperor Kalis, upon receiving the reports of the breach and the ensuing chaos, summoned his closest advisors. "This insurrection cannot be allowed to spread," he decreed, his voice cold with resolve. "We must tighten our grip, increase surveillance, and dispatch more fleets. I will not let the galaxy fall to chaos." On the Sovereign, as the crew worked tirelessly to assess and repair the damage from the battle, Elias met with his officers. Maps and data points hovered in the air around them, plans and counterplans laid out with meticulous care. "We've struck a significant blow today," Elias said to the group. "But we need to keep moving. Keep fighting. Every moment we delay gives the Empire time to recover." Their next steps were clear. With the stolen data, they had a chance not only to defend Earth, but also to rally other oppressed planets. The galaxy was on the brink of a massive shift, and humanity was across the galaxy. The ripples of rebellion stirred unrest on planets long subdued under the Empire's heavy hand. Elias's strategy hinged not just on warfare, but on forging alliances, leveraging the decrypted data to sow doubt among the Empire's allies. In a secure communication room aboard the Sovereign, Mara initiated contact with the Tholian representatives, a species known for their strategic acumen and neutrality. "We have evidence of Imperial actions that are contrary to the treaty signed at the convocation of Alar," she stated, presenting encrypted files. "We seek your support, not as conquerors, but as liberators." The Tholians, their crystalline structures shimmering with each transmission pulse, conferred among themselves. "Your proposal is bold, humans. We will consider your evidence," they replied, their tone unreadable. Meanwhile, Elias dispatched envoys to the Sindari worlds, hoping to exploit their long-standing grievances with the Empire. The Sindari, a fiercely independent race, had chafed under the Empire's economic stranglehold. Armed with proof of Imperial exploitation, the envoys were met with a cautious but intrigued audience. On Earth, the news of potential alliances brought a new surge of energy to the resistance fighters. In the war-torn streets of New Chicago, former corporate executive and now resistance leader Jenna Marwick rallied her troops. "This isn't just our fight anymore," she proclaimed. "The galaxy is waking up. We must hold our ground." The Empire, sensing the shifting sands, increased their pressure. Imperial fleets launched a series of devastating counterstrikes on key rebel strongholds. The battles were brutal, each victory hard-fought, and each loss deeply felt. Above the contested planet of Draconis III, the human fleet endured a particularly grueling encounter. Ships darted between the debris of broken battalions, weaving a desperate tapestry of defense against the Empire's relentless assault. In the midst of chaos, the human resolve hardened. The spearheads, once again at the forefront, executed daring boarding actions, capturing Imperial ships and turning their own weapons against them. Lieutenant Kale, his armor scorched and dented, led his team through the smoldering corridors of a captured dreadnought. "Secure the bridge and let's turn this beast around," he shouted, his voice hoarse but fierce. As the tide of battle shifted slowly in their favor, Elias received a transmission from the Tholians. "We have examined your evidence," they began, their forms pulsing slowly. "We will join your cause. Prepare for our fleets. We fight together." The Sindari soon followed suit, their warships, sleek and deadly, joining the fray. "The Sindari do not forget their debts, Captain Vaughn. We are with you," their leader transmitted, his voice a harsh rasp over the comlink. With new allies bolstering their ranks, the human fleet gained a critical edge. Strategic coordination meetings became a melting pot of species and ideologies, each contributing their unique strengths to the rebellion's cause. Mara, now a key figure in these discussions, worked tirelessly to integrate the diverse tactics and technologies of their new allies. The galaxy watched as a new coalition formed, not under the banner of conquest, but of mutual respect and shared purpose. On Earth, the combined rebel and allied fleets approached Xirion, the heart of the Galactic Empire. The planet loomed large, its orbit crowded with defense platforms and satellite shields, a formidable barrier around the Emperor's stronghold. Elias, standing before the panoramic view screen on the bridge of the Sovereign, reviewed the tactical overlays with his commanders. The final battle was upon them. "Coordinate our approach with the Tholian and Sindari fleets. We strike as one," Elias commanded, his voice carrying the weight of impending conflict. The fleet, now a diverse assembly of human, Tholian, and Sindari ships, moved into formation, a multi-species armada united by a common cause. Mara monitored the communication channels, relaying information and commands with precision. "All units, this is command. Engage at will. Priority targets are the defense satellites and the orbital platforms. Breakthrough is essential." As the fleets engaged, the space around Xirion erupted into a maelstrom of fire and debris. Tholian warships, using their advanced shielding technology, absorbed and deflected incoming fire, while Sindari cruisers, agile and lethal, sliced through the Empire's defensive lines with coordinated laser barrages. On the surface of Earth, Jenna Marwick watched the skies, her thoughts with the fleets fighting above. She turned to the gathered crowd of fighters and civilians. Today we all stand together, not just as humans, but as citizens of the galaxy fighting for freedom, she declared, her voice echoing off the makeshift barricades. Back in space, the battle reached a fever pitch. An Imperial dreadnought, the Dominion, moved to intercept the Sovereign, its cannons blazing. Elias remained calm, issuing commands. "Hard to port, bring us alongside and target their main batteries." The maneuver was risky, but it paid off. The Sovereign slipped beneath the Dominion's guns, delivering a crippling blow to its underbelly. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Elias's focus didn't waver. "Maintain pressure. All ships, push forward." The breach in the Imperial defenses allowed the rebel forces to pour through, descending towards the atmosphere of Xirion. The final descent was perilous, the skies lit with anti-aircraft fire and the ground defenses unleashing chaos upon the invading ships. Lieutenant Kale and the spearheads, aboard a fast dropship, hurtled towards the surface, their objective clear, the Imperial Palace. As they landed, they were met with heavy resistance. Blaster fire crisscrossed the battlefield, but the trained soldiers advanced, using debris and craters for cover. Inside the Imperial Palace, Emperor Kalis watched the battle unfold, his expression one of defiance. He would not flee, nor would he surrender. As the rebels breached the palace gates, he donned his ceremonial armor, prepared to face his fate. The palace corridors echoed with the sounds of battle as Kale and his team advanced. The ornate halls, once symbols of unassailable power, were now a war zone. Reaching the throne room, Kale faced Emperor Kalis, who stood resolute. "You bring war to my door, rebel, but know this, my empire will endure," the Emperor declared. Kale, his armor battered and his resolve unbroken, stepped forward. "No empire built on subjugation and fear can endure forever. We fight for those you have oppressed. We fight for freedom." The confrontation was brief. The Emperor, though a skilled warrior, was overwhelmed. With the fall of Kalis, the last stronghold of the Empire crumbled. News of the victory spread quickly across the galaxy. Planets under Imperial control rose up, bolstered by the success of the rebellion. A new era was dawning, one of cooperation and peace among the stars. On Earth, Jenna Marwick and the people celebrated, their joy uncontainable. The skies, once a reminder of their oppression, now promised new beginnings. As the dust settled, Elias and Mara looked out over the liberated Xirion, their hearts heavy with the cost of their struggle, but hopeful for the future. "We freed the galaxy from tyranny," Mara said softly. "Yes," Elias replied, his eyes reflecting the stars above. "Now we build a galaxy worth living in, for everyone." Together, the coalition of races began the hard work of rebuilding, turning their weapons into plowshares and their fortresses into forums. A new galactic council was formed, one where every species had a voice, and the scars of the old empire slowly began to heal. The stars, once battlefields, now pathways to shared adventures and new horizons.